Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of getting the throat off the combine. Alright, well, as you saw in part 1, I had gotten the belts and everything like that all off of it. Now I've got the forklift pulled up here. And what you got to do, grab my work light, is get the chain fed back through that square tube right there. That can be kind of a fun job. You need to use a pry bar or something like that to kind of get it shoved through. That way you can grab it over on the other side. But once you get that chain down through there, then you can just simply take and hook on the forklift. And then you just got to take and drop out the two big bolts that hold everything in. So I'm going to start getting stuff set up here and grab some more tools. I just got that chain put through. About the best way I found is if you just kind of take a long pry bar that you can get in here between the tire and just keep shoving it through the pry bar until you can get to hold in there. Loop the chain over that way it kind of helps hold also, and try and shove it through the pry bar far enough so that you can reach through on this other side in that square tube and grab the other end and pull it right on through. So here I got it over here. Now I'm going to take and bring the forklift up here, and because I got to get these pins out here on these cylinders. Before you bring the forklift into it, let's take a look here. You want to take and get your forks close enough so that they go in between the cylinders. That's what I'm going to do right now. There we are, kind of slide that one in. And then we'll go over here on this side. Unlock the fork, slide it in also. Alright, I can see right now. Oop, drop the camera. Okay, we're close enough, so come right in here. You're in between the forks, or I mean in between the forks are in between the cylinders, and that'll work. I'll take and mount y'all up here on top of the forklift. I think you can see halfway decent when I pull into it. That brought you up nice and close to the camera. Yes, I know, I was watching it the whole time. Okay, let's look underneath here. Alright, the forks are between the cylinders. We're good to go there, because you don't want those to hit. Also, right here on the feeder house chain, take and roll it back so that your feeder house slats are up against here. Now we got clearance, because ideally what you want the bottom of the throat to be right there in the elbow of the forks. That way it can't go anywhere. Now before I hook up the chain, I'm going to take and bump up on the forklift. What I'm trying to do is see about getting these pins loosened up right there. I did see that and wiggle a little bit. So I should be able to take and drive it out. Alright, now I gotta get me a roll pin punch. We'll knock that roll pin out and see if I can get this pin here knocked out of there. Okay, let's see if we can get that roll pin to move. Light's in the way. Oh man, I grab a bigger hammer. Alright, got a little bit bigger hammer. I also got my punch holder as well. I would have thought that thing would have moved by now. Okay, I think it's starting to budge. That little punch holder is sure handy also. It saves you from smacking your fingers, or also when you go to whack the thing, sometimes that punch will trip a little bit. And it's kind of cold out, my hands are cold. That feels real good. But with that thing, you don't feel a thing. There we go, finally. Got that big washer right there. Now, just gotta get that pin knocked out. Okay, that's got that pin started. Let's see here. Generally, you can usually take a pry bar. Well, make sure it's got a knock end on it like that. That way you can pound on it. Because the nice thing with the pry bar, as the pin goes out, the pry bar goes through, and it'll still hold the cylinder up until you're actually ready for it to drop down. Or so I thought. It might be pinched now. I don't know if I can. Yeah, there we go. Although we're up against something solid. Let's take a look. Well, I don't see anything. We're above the fork. Kind of odd. Acts like we're hitting against something pretty solid in there though. not sure what's causing that pin to stick in there. I even put a pry bar here underneath the cylinder, that way I can kind of wiggle it up and down and pound on it at the same time. Odd. Maybe I need to bump up at the forklift a little bit. Now let's see what happens. Huh. Well, whatever it is, it's solid. Well, so far I'm not having much luck. Odd thing is, I can get on the back side and drive it back out this way, but it goes through so far, then stops. I'm not sure why. Like it hit something really solid. Well, I've been playing with it up and down with the forklift. Now I got my pry bar in there wiggling up and down on it. Hey, there we go. Yeah. Okay. That's got the cylinder unhooked. Let me get my light off of it. I'll say one thing, them cylinders have some weight to them. This is why you want to do this job with a forklift. That way you can put your fork through onto the fork and then hold the cylinder with a pry bar. Thing's heavy. Now I gotta do the other side. I just took this pin clear out. I see what's going on. The pin's got like these little grooves in the thing. It was made that way, and I think what was happening was the edge of one of these grooves was actually catching as it went through the frame. Alright, now I gotta jump over into the right hand side. I don't know, I may show you a little bit on that, I may not. It's identical to doing this side here. Well guys, I got the pin here on the right hand side out. No problem, it's shot right through. And right there's why I say use a pry bar or even a big punch like what I was using on the other side to take and knock that pin out. That way, as the pin kicks out, the punch or pry bar shoot through, and it won't let the cylinders up and drop until you're ready for it. And like I say, with having the forklift underneath there, you can go right underneath the cylinder, come up on top of the fork, and then just simply lift up on the thing. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. I may have taken sit you down that way. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I got to be able to work with both hands. Okay, I hung the camera upside down. Looks like the orientation's all right. So let's lift up on the cylinder, pull that pry bar out of the pin slot, and then try to catch it. Okay. And there we go, just like that. Get y'all down off there. Okay, that's got that cylinder dropped out. I forgot, I got looking back here at the emergency brake cable. I actually need to take and undo that right there where it's bolted in. It'll just give it more flex to go around the throat and that drive shaft as it comes out. Took that little clamp off right there. It just hooks on that little tab right there. Like I said, it lets you give it a little bit more movement. In fact, come to think of it, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I have to take that thing and undo it from up underneath here, because it hooks in right there, another little screw. I'll have to see. It might have enough flex, well, maybe not. Yeah, looks like I'm gonna have to take that little cap screw out right there also. That little cap screw is so tied up against that bracket piece, I can't even use a gear wrench head on it. Maybe if I had a real thin sidewall socket, it'd fit in there. But it's not that long, so I can just spin the thing out here. In fact, maybe I'll get it spin out by hand. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. I thought anyway. Yeah, there we are. Okay, yeah, and like I say, that'll let the cable flex out around that drive shaft. Right there, and give it room to work. Okay, let's go ahead and get the chain here hooked up. Here's how I hook the chain up. I just tie it to the top mast part here of the forklift, or kind of like the rack piece coming up here above the forks. Of course, run the chain down both sides through that square tube, and that works. You need an 1.5 inch socket to take these bolts out. So I'm going to go get the big impact, and we can get them taken out. Okay, I put you all back up on top of my head. Got the big impact here. And I've showed this thing off before. I can tell you one thing, it sure is handy when you need it. Now, I put these extra long extensions on because this is a 1-inch drive impact, and I've actually dropped it from 1 inch down to 3/4 because I do not have 1-inch extensions. And I've got to be able to reach in there and extend out past that frame piece to be able to spin that loose. So let's see what happens here. I want to take the bottom bolt out first. In fact, actually, you know what? I'm going to have to take a extension out. It's too long. Let's take and shorten that up with, there we go. With the impact having this big long nose on the thing. There we go. That works as a great big extension of its own. Come on, let's go. Huh. There we are. Well, hopefully that didn't shake you around too much. Alrighty. Hopefully you're able to halfway see on video. Okay. Come on, let's go. The left-hand side is just like taking this one here off also. They're both identical. Come on, let's get out of there. It's probably got bean dirt and dust in there. There we are. Okay, now that I get looking at this, that's going to be too long. For that one, I may end up taking that extension completely off. I'll say one thing, if you ever want a big cordless impact, check out one of these big Ingersoll Rands. 3,000 pounds of breakaway torque on counterclockwise for tightening. I don't know if it's that same amount or not. Generally, I don't think they are. It's usually a little bit less. But the high torque is what you want anyway for breaking stuff loose. Okay, now I just gotta get that thing wedged up in there onto the bolt head. Alrighty. Ooh. Now, when you spin that out, there's a steel plate back here. Try and get the turn slow. There we go. That's what them bolts are bolting into. Because you got a plate back there, you got a plate right here. Now that you got the plate off the back, take and get your impact back out of there. In fact, if you have a service truck, a big impact like that would be good to have it on a service truck if you needed some extra power. Okay, there it comes off the front light just like that. Same thing, you got that plate piece. And once I get it pulled out, you'll see it's got a square block right here where it pivots. Hopefully you can see that good. But yeah, like I said, it's got that square block. That's where it pivots up and down at. And so now we'll take and get around the other side. Over here on the left-hand side now, I just got the impacts set down in here before I turn the camera on. But let's see what happens. Okay. If you've ever worked with the Air 1-inch impacts, you know they got some weight to them. This one here, it weighs just as much as a air drive because you got two 20-volt batteries on the thing. All right, that's got the bottom bolt done. Set that off over there for now. Now, trying to get this big thing wiggled back down through there again. Hopefully you can see halfway decent. Kind of a tight spot. Okay, that chain just might be in the way. Let's see. We'll take and pull that down off there. That might help open up a little bit more room to work. Last time I had this thing off here would have been, oh, probably about 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. Okay, there we are. I can tell you one thing. Having to set that thing up into a tight spot and not having a whole lot of room to work is easier said than done. Okay, well, you heard that big clank. That was the other steel bar that the bolts screw into. That one, of course, on any Gleaner rotary combine, the throat is actually offset to the right because of the way it feeds into the rotor. Feeds in under, goes up, then begins the transition over to the left-hand side. And so that steel bar actually dropped down onto the grate down below here where the hydro is. In fact, that right there. And so I'll jump up in there and dig that out. Well, probably dig that out once I'm actually ready to put the throat back on. For right now, though, it can just sit right where it is. All right. That's got the blocks off. There's that grease tube. Now ready to hook the chain back onto the forklift. All right, guys, trying to get you set here on the forklift mast. That way you can watch as I back up and begin to take the throat out of the brackets back there. Okay, let's see what happens. Try and back up, and I think we should be ready just to simply back straight out. I will have to watch the parking brake cable right there, but other than that we should be good to go. Okay, before I back up anymore, let's go up here and take a quick look around. I'll go ahead and get that moved around behind that drive shaft. Oh, okay, I see that thing's just on a... Oh, it's on a swivel. Oh no? Huh. I guess it's like threaded in there somehow. Okay. Alright, right there's the block piece it pivots on. Okay, we look good on this side. Alright, over here on the left hand side. Look good over here, we're coming out. Alright, there's the upper feeder house chain drum. I'll show that to you here in a little bit. So let's go ahead and keep backing out. Okay, let's go take a look. Yeah, there we are. I'll get that rolled around there and get that master link separated on the chain. Oh, there we are. I always like this type of master link better over the little wire kind. It uses those little acorn nuts to take and tie it together. A whole lot better than little wires. Okay, here we are up inside. There's the lower drum of the upper feeder house chain. Everything should be good to go there. In fact, you've heard me talk, in fact, I've actually done videos on it, but you've heard me talk about the Dan Hurt feeder floor modification kit that makes Gleaner Combine into a new machine night and day. I put this floor in, I'm guessing probably about 3 years ago now. And at that time, and so I of course had to take all this drum, everything all had to come out, and I cut all the old floor out. It's best to use a plasma cutter, and because the original floor had a hump in the thing. It would come in, it like humped up before it went in. All that did is create a giant choke point, and so I put the regular straight in, then up. So you can see that's just flat going straight in, then up. And so a whole lot better. And so also when I had that drum out at that time, and also on the lower feeder house chain drum, I put new bearings in them also. So I'm gonna get me a piece of cardboard, that way I can rake out all that soybean junk, and I want to pick that up right there off the ground. I just took it outside and took the air gun to it and cleaned them all up. But yeah, now I just gotta get that drive shaft right there out. I've actually never had one of those drive shafts pulled before. It's got a bolt on that end. I'm guessing you take that bolt out, and with it being a hex shaft, it should just drive right out that way, I think, but I'm not positive. And so I actually want to make a phone call to my AGCO dealer and talk to the one Gleaner guy over there. He can give me some ideas and some suggestions. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Also, when I put that feeder floor kit in, right there's what basically does to your, can't hard to see on camera, but if I can get that light to sit right there. Yeah, it takes this floor, you actually take and push this floor down some. It's got this channel, and you actually cut the floor forward. It's got instructions which are very detailed, and you cut forward maybe like I think about 20 inches up on each side, right next to the outside wall, and then take and push the floor all the way down to this channel where it channels in right here. That makes a lot more room as well. You take the floor across the back, cut it off, tuck it under, move it forward a few inches, then re-weld it, which is what I did. So far, it seems to be looking okay. And same thing back here. I raked out all that stuff on that cardboard. So everything looks good back here where I put the new floor in a few years back. But I'll get that, especially here where these blocks go. It's got that old grease and that kind of stuff. I gotta get that all raked out with a putty knife and cleaned up. But yeah, this here will be something else for part 3. So I'm going to call this an end of part 2. This included, was part of getting the throat off. Part 3 will be undoing the feeder house and getting the drive shaft and these bearings out. So take care. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.